Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer Malley from the Good Foundations International organization from Wisconsin in the USA, and I wanted to show you a video about how to make handmade paper like this from recycled materials that are around your community. In our case, we used old newspapers, we used old flyers, and to add the specks of color in our paper, we used flower petals that had color, colored flowered petals to make it more interesting. So we're gonna take you through all the steps that you need to do so that you can make your own handmade recycled paper that you can sell, make into booklets, and we'll get started in just a second. Thanks. First step is finding two frames. We're using frames made out of wood, and the inside, the opening of our frame is going to be the size of the paper that we're going to make. I found two identical picture frames, and I took the glass out of the picture frames, and I'm going to use this to make the frame that makes the paper. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to attach a piece of screening or mesh to the flat face of one of the frames. So we've cut it, and I'm going to lay it over the top of the frame and attach it. You can use hammer and nails to attach this. I'm going to use a staple gun. And you need to stretch the screening very tightly across the opening. So now we have the screen attached to the flat side of one of the screens, and I'm going to trim the screen away from the frame. Okay. And this is finished. So as you can see, we have a tightly attached screen, and your second frame is going to fit on top like this, and I will show you a little bit later how we're going to use this to make a piece of paper. So now we are going to demonstrate how to make the paper pulp from the recycled papers that you have around your community. We're going to start with some old newspaper, and some old scrap pieces of paper. And the first thing we want to do is we're going to make strips of the newspaper, and either using a scissors or you can continue to tear the paper. We want to cut them into small pieces. So we're going to cut the newspaper into small pieces, as well as any scrap paper that you have, any old flyers, advertisements, computer paper, old printer paper, and when this bucket gets full of cut old recycled paper, then we'll show you how to prepare it to make paper. Step we're going to do is to take all of the cut pieces of our old paper, and we're going to put it in a pot and fill it full of water and let the pulp soak overnight in water so that the fibers of the paper start to break down. And then from this point, I will show you how we grind it into a pulp, and we're going to turn this into new paper. So our next step is we are going to take a scoop of the pulp that we've let sit overnight in water. And so the paper, the recycled paper pulp, is saturated with water and comes apart very easily. We are going to use an electric blender to make the pulp even finer before we use it for paper. We're now going to take our pulp and we're going to put it into a large open shaped bin and add more water to it. So there's some water and some pulp in the water, okay? We're not gonna make it extremely full of pulp. We're gonna have a lot of extra water in this bin. And the next step I'll show you is actually how to make paper using the frame that we built and the pulp that we've just made. All right, our last step is to actually make the pieces of paper. So as we showed you before, here is our frame that we're going to use to pull the paper. And before we do that, we're going to set up a place where we're going to put the finished piece. So what I do is I put about 3 layers of absorbent towels down because there'll be water coming out of your paper. So I put this down. And then what I use may not be available for you, but this is a type of fabric that seamstresses use in like men's collars and cuffs to make them stiff. So this is like a sizing, a piece of paper that has sizing in it that's washable and it does not absorb water. What you can probably use in your community is a piece of plastic. We need some kind of a covering here that is not absorbent for water. So I would suggest starting with a piece of plastic. So I am going to now show how to pull a piece of paper, and then we will place the piece of paper on here to dry. So we want to put our the side of the frame that has the screen on top. We want to place it like this, and we want to place the flat side of this frame on top of it. All right. Now we're going to give the water a little bit of a swoosh so we can mix up the pulp in the water. And we're going to go in like this, and we're going to come up and through, and we're going to wait for the water to drain out of the screen. Okay, and as you can see, our flower petals are mixed in with our paper pulp, which is going to make a really beautiful sheet of paper. We're going to take the top frame off of the frame, and now I am going to place the paper onto our non-absorbent surface. And that is our first piece of paper. So we can pick up each piece of this non-absorbent paper, whether it's plastic or made out of the sizing, and we're going to hang it up with clothespins in the sun, and we're going to wait for the paper to dry. And once the paper's dry, then we can peel it off and the paper will be finished. All right, our paper has been drying in the sun, and it's time to take the paper off of our background here. I'm going to show you what our paper looks like. So it's going to peel right up like this. So there's the first sheet. There's our second sheet. So here's our pieces of finished paper, and they're quite beautiful. You can use all kinds of different recycled materials to make this, and all kinds of different plant fibers and petals for the coloring. So you can have fun making paper with other recycled paper.